Hello dear students, I hope you all are safe and healthy. My name is Ankita and I am teaching as an assistant professor in Department of Computer Science and Engineering at St. Andrews Institute of Technology and Management, Gurugram. I welcome all of you to the lecture 11 of my online lecture series of subject computer networks. And in this video we are going to study about network operating system and the proxy servers and virtual LANs. These are the further topics in unit 4th, and unit 4th is totally based on the security aspects, various security aspects used in establishing a network. So before this video, in previous one we studied about SNMP protocol architecture, and we saw quality of service definitions, and firewalls also we saw in the previous video. Types of firewalls we studied. So all such concepts which are associated with the security measures of your networks, we are doing those concepts in unit 4th of this subject. Okay, so we all know that a normal operating system is a program, is a software which is used to handle all the resources, or that is the system actually which establishes a interface between the computer and the hardware, between the hardware and the user. Okay, same as that operating system, a network also requires one operating system, or you can say network runs through a server or a main program. So a server is a strong computer, or you can say the main computer from which all the requests are accomplished. So that server is having the network operating system, and in this operating system various computers are connected with each other for the purpose of sharing information, and for the purpose of communicating with each other. And network operating system also facilitates various computers to get connected and communicate in a secure manner. For such reasons it provides security, and it also has authentication and access control functionalities. Okay, so in a network we use different names for the computer, like we can call them node, we can call them workstations, we can call them simple computers. As we know that all the computers have their own local memory and the hardware and their own operating system. Okay, so the network operating system will be the one which will be installed in the server only. Okay, so mainly this operating system runs on a server program mainly. And it gives the capability to the server to manage the users groups security applications and the other networking functions also. So networking is not just connecting 2 computers or 3 computers with some wires or cables. It is more than that, and besides the hardware configurations we also need some software configurations also to connect all the computers in a secure manner, so that they can communicate, they can share their data or resources. Basic purpose of this operating system is to allow the shared file and the printer access among multiple computers in a network. In a network you can say a local area network or a private network or any other network. The software behind network operating system that allows multiple devices within a network to communicate and share the resources with each other. So the composition of hardware that typically uses network operating system, that includes the number of personal computers, the printers, servers, file servers with the local networks that connect them together. And the role of this operating system is to provide basic services, network services and features which supports multiple input requests simultaneously in a multi-user environment. We know that Unix and Linux, these are the main operating systems which work in the networking environment also, and they provide the equivalent security for that also. So the main advantage of using network operating system is to sharing the information and the memory amongst the autonomous computers in the network. It can also facilitate client computers to access the shared memory and resources administered by the server computer. As I said that network operating system runs on a main server basically, and but the functionality of this remains transparent for the users. You can have remote access with the network operating system also. Okay, so the workstation which are connected in this network, they are aware of multiplicity of the network devices. They know that how many devices are there connected with this server. and this operating system can distribute the tasks and functions amongst various other nodes also, which will enhance the overall performance of the system. So what network operating system is, it is a main computer or main server program which is handling all the clients simultaneously, and these clients have their own local memories and their own hardware, their own operating systems, but server will be having the network operating system. And besides accomplishing the request, it is also giving the security measures, security functions to different clients connected to this server. Okay, so with network operating system you can have remote access as well. So what are the advantages of network operating system? Security is the server is managed by the server only. This is the advantage. Clients need not to bother about the security separately. It will be provided by the server. Centralized servers are highly stable, and upgradation of new technologies and hardware can be easily integrated into the system, because that thing will be initiated from the server only. So at one point or at one computer you need to upgrade the technologies. It will be benefiting to all the clients also. And it is also possible to remote access to the servers from different locations and types of the system. We can have remote access to the servers also from different locations. Now comes to the disadvantages. So this operating system or managing such servers with network operating system is little costlier, and this includes high cost of buying and running the software, the running server software, and dependency on a central location. Yes, because server will be handling everything, then dependency is on that particular computer only. Regular maintenance and updation is required, and the one drawback of network operating system that it is tightly coupled in the nature. So we have heard about many operating systems like Windows Server 2000, 2003, 2008. All these are network operating system, or you can say that we can install them in the server, which will act as the network operating system. Novel NetWare, Mac OS, Unix and Linux. Yes, after Windows, Unix and Linux are most popular. Then Mac OS, which runs on a specific Mac Apple devices. Okay, so these are the examples of your Windows operating systems. Now comes what are the types of operating system. Like a normal operating system have different type of operating system, like multi-programming, multi-processing, real-time, time-sharing operating system, real-time, you know. So all these operating system are the types of computer operating system, but the network operating systems are of two types: peer-to-peer and client-server. So peer-to-peer operating system says that all the nodes will be functioning and will be operating equal to each other. Okay, so not only one node is responsible for all the functions, but all the nodes will be participating equally. No one is superior or inferior, and they are capable of performing the similar kind of tasks. And all the nodes have their own local memory and resources also. And this we are talking about in the peer-to-peer scenario. And using the network operating system, they can connect and communicate with each other, and they can also share the data and resources with one another. See, I have put these definitions in points so that it will be easy for all of you to learn these points. Okay, I think this is the best way to explain any question, by putting it into the points. One node can also communicate and share data and resources with the remote node in the network by using the authentication features of the network operating system, and the nodes are directly connected with each other in the network with the help of the switch or the hub. There is one point to point, or you can say one to one communication is there. So by using switch or hub, every computer is directly connected to each other in order to share the resources and information. Okay, so what are the advantages of this? This is easy to install and setup cost is little low. There is no requirement for any specialized software, and the sharing of information or the resources is fast and easy, because in peer-to-peer environment every computer will be having their own operating system, and work of security and everything that will be related to that computer only. Disadvantages of this type of network operating systems are its performance depending on the autonomous computers, that may not be so good when sharing some resources. In the case of some specific resources, the performance of autonomous computers may not be good, and no centralized management is there because each computer is connected to each one another, and this is less secure and it doesn't have any backup functionalities, and there is no centralized storage system. We can see some disadvantages of peer-to-peer also. Next comes the client server architecture or model, you can say. This is based on the client server relationship, and this operating system operates with a single server and multiple client computers in a network. Client first of all request or generate the request for information or the resource sharing and forward it to the server machine, and the server machine in turn replies to that client by providing the appropriate services to it, and the client machine runs on the client machine while the network operating system is installed on the server machine. This machine is very powerful computer, and that is capable of handling large calculations and operations, and it can have ability to administer the whole network and its resources. When we say the network operating system, you can relate it with one machine or a server which is having further various clients, and through that server only the clients are getting replies from there for their requests. So this enhances the reach of the client machines also in client server model by providing the remote access to the other nodes and resources of the network in the secure manner. So advantages of client server models are that it has a centralized control, so administration is easy. Only one system is having backup and all the data, and the shared data and the resources that can be accessed concurrently by the multiple clients, and it has better reliability and performance than peer-to-peer. And disadvantages are also there. Setup is very costly, so any organization, if it wants to set up such model, then they may face higher cost, and there is a requirement of specialized software also for client and the server machines to function properly. There may be network failure in case of central system failure, and there is a need for an administrator to administer the network. A huge amount of client requests may overload the server also. So if one system is managing all the work inside the network, then that system must be secure, and that system should not face any failure also. Common functionalities include the data, or you can say the features of network operating systems are data and resource sharing, its performance, security, robustness, scalability, memory management, and network operating system, they also typically associated with the user administration. So user administrators mainly have the network operating systems, from where all the computers inside any organization, they get their requests completed. System maintenance and resource management functionalities is another part of features of network operating system. And besides these features, the NOS handle also some other duties like printer and the application sharing by providing the access to remote printers, managing which users are using which pointer when, managing how print jobs are queued, and recognizing when devices are not available to the computer. In common file system and database sharing also, this enables and managing the access to the files on the remote systems and determining who can access, when can access. And backup and web services also is the functionality of your network operating system, granting access to remote applications and resources such as internet, and making those resources look like local resources to the user. So the network is ideally transparent to the user. Okay, though the request is coming from the remote computer, but it will not look like that we are getting remote access, but it will behave locally. Internetworking provides routing services including support for major networking protocols, so that the operating system knows what data to be sent and where it should be sent. Basic support for the operating system like protocol and the processor support, hardware detections and multiprocessing. These are the operations of network operating systems. So, and this network security capabilities says that user authentication and access control mechanism should be used. Monitoring of the system and security must be there on regular intervals to provide the proper security against the viruses, hackers and the data corruption. Providing basic network administrator utilities, like we saw the simple network management protocol, which is the configuration, which is the management protocol, network management protocol, and which enables an administrator to perform tasks involving managing the network resources and the users. So what this protocol was doing, it was doing the same thing, like managing the resources, users, and also keeping a check that what is happening inside the network at what point of time. So example of network operating systems can be Artisoft's LAN Testic. This is a simple user-friendly network operating system that supports the most PC operating systems. So these are the examples, real-life examples, various companies are using. So second one is this uses the client-server architecture to request specific functions and the services. Novell's NetWare. This is the Novell NetWare. This was the first network operating system to be released and is designed based on the XNS protocol architecture. XNS stands for Xerox Network System. So again, protocol architecture. The next one is Microsoft LAN Manager. This operates on as a server application and was developed to run under the Microsoft operating system. Now most of the functionality of LAN Manager is included in the Windows operating system itself. So these are the examples of network operating system, and in addition to these, some multi-purpose operating systems are also there, like Windows NT and Digital's Open VMS, that comes with the capability to that enable them to be described at the network operating system. The most popular operating system like Windows, Unix, Linux and Mac, they include built-in networking functions also that may not require any additional network services. Okay, so this was all about the network operating system. I have included its definitions, its advantages and disadvantages, various types and various functionalities that are included in the network operating system. Why we need to use the network operating system? These are the reasons for this particular question. Okay, so next topic is proxy server. We use this term in our day-to-day life, and proxy means a substitute basically. And if you can't access any website, maybe due to any reason, that if you don't want to access that website directly, or you want to access that website anonymously, so that you don't want to get identified by the by that website, because you don't trust that website, so you can use that proxy server. In that case, it is a server basically which acts as an intermediary between the client and the internet, between user and the internet. So this proxy servers offers various functionalities like firewall. It acts as the firewall or network data filtering. Proxy server also employ the network connection sharing, data caching, etc. And this also allows us to hide or conceal or make our network ID anonymous by hiding our IP address. So purpose of using proxy servers are monitoring and filtering, improving performance, translation, accessing service anonymously and security. So from this definition we got to know that proxy server is a server which hides the identity of the client or the user from that particular website which we want to open. Okay, so for example, if I want to open any website, but I don't want to be get identified by that particular website, so proxy server will hide my IP address. Okay, so I can access that website through proxy server in that case. So monitoring and filtering includes content filtering, filtering encrypted data, bypass filters, and logging and eavesdropping. Okay, so eavesdropping means that someone silently listening the conversation which we are doing with someone. Okay, that is eavesdropping. Improving performance, it improves the performance by fastening the services by process or retrieving content from the cache which was saved when a previous request was made by the client. Okay, so it retrieves the information from the cache only, so that we need not to go onto that website again and again. So due to this, it improves the performance also. Translation helps to customize the source site for the local users by excluding source content or substituting source content with the original local content. In this, the traffic from the global user is routed to the source website through the translation proxy. So translation proxy keeps the data from the global users, okay, to the source website. Accessing services anonymously says that in this the destination server receives the request from the anonymous proxy server and thus does not receive information about the end user. So it will receive only the proxy server information instead of the user information. Proxy server hides the identity of the users, hence it is protecting the user information from spam and the other hacker attacks. So types of proxies are forward proxies, open proxies, reverse proxies. These three are the type of proxies. So in this forward proxy, the client requests its internal network server to forward to the network. So this is the diagram. This is the internal network. This is the global internet, and this is user. And through the proxy it is forwarding the request. Okay, client request is forwarded through the proxy server. So this proxy server stores this request directly inside the cache. So next time when this user opens the example.com, so second time it will not again go to the global internet, it will take information from its cache only. Open proxies helps the client to conceal their IP address while browsing the web. Conceal means not to show your IP address to anyone. Conceal means it will hide your IP address from the internet. So the user is residing in this global internet and its request is going through the proxy server, open proxy, and then it is transmitting, it is communicating with that particular internet where in your example.com server lies. It will be done by concealing your IP addresses. And reverse proxies says that in this the requests are forwarded to one or more proxy servers and responses from the proxy server is retrieved as if it came directly from the original server. It is saying the requests are forwarded to one or more proxy servers and the response from the proxy server is retrieved as if it came directly from the original server. Okay, so this is the internal network, and here in the proxy server is acting as an original server. So request will be gone through with this proxy server. So actually it is getting request from another web server, but it will behave like the original server. In this case it is known as the reverse servers. Now the next proxy server architecture includes this particular fields: proxy server interface, proxy server listener, connection manager, cache manager, log manager, and configuration. So this proxy server architecture have various functionalities which are divided among these parts. So we will be looking into these parts separately. So first one is the proxy user interface. The first one is proxy user interface. This module controls and manages the user interfaces and provides an easy way to use graphical interface like window and a menu to the end user. So this menu offers the following functionality. It will say when to start proxy, when to stop, when to exit, what URL to be blocked, blocking client, manage log, manage cache, modifying. So all such information is handled by this proxy server interface, which is the first part of your proxy server architecture. Second one is proxy server listener, and this is the port where the incoming requests from the client browsers are listened, and this module also performs blocking of the client sometimes if the list is already given by the user. So it will also block the new coming requests also sometimes. Connection manager, the third module, contains the main functionality of your proxy server. Connection manager, it contains main functionality of the proxy server. It performs the following functions like reading the request from the header of the client, parse the URL which we enter in the address bar, and determine whether URL is blocked or not. If it is already blocked, then it will not proceed further. If it is blocked, it will not proceed further. If it is not blocked, it will proceed further by generating the connection to the web server and read the reply from the web server. If no copy of the page is found in the cache, then download the page from the web server. It also checks its own cache, and if the page is not downloaded inside the cache, it will download that page from the web server. Else it will check its last modified date from the reply header and accordingly will read from the cache or server from the web. Then it will also check whether caching is allowed or not and accordingly it will cache the page. It is also another concept that if you want to cache the page, if caching is allowed, only in that case you can cache the page inside the proxy server. So this is done by the cache manager, and this is responsible for storing, deleting, clearing and searching of the web pages in the cache. Log manager is responsible for viewing, clearing and updating the logs. And the last one is the configuration, which helps to create configuration settings, which in turn let another modules to perform desired configurations like caching. So other module can also perform in a proper manner with a good configuration. So this configuration module provides them the configuration settings also. So how does the proxy server works? Basically, every computer has a unique IP address that we all know, and this IP address is similar to the street addresses where we are living in, and which is known by the post office also in order to deliver any parcel or any letter to your home. And a proxy server is a computer on the internet with its own IP address, and the client which is going to use this proxy server knows this IP address. So you can relate the proxy server as the post office which is in your city or state. Whenever the client makes any request to any web server, then its request first goes to the proxy server. So whenever we want to send some letter to other person, we have to write the address, and we will first go to the post office. Similar way, the request goes to the proxy server first, and this proxy server then makes the request to the destination server on behalf of the client. So on behalf of us, the postman will go to the destination. The proxy server actually changes the IP addresses of the client, so that the actual IP address of the client is not revealed to the web server. So whatever destination address we are writing on the letter, on the card, so post office will segregate the parts of the addresses which I have mentioned, and according to their own functionality they will be going, or according to their own path they will be going to the destination. So what there is little difference that proxy server will change the IP address of the client actually, and so that the actual IP address will not be revealed to the web server. So what in the case of post office, we are writing the destination address, but the post office or the postman is evaluating that address according to its own functionality, and then it is reaching to the destination. But in case of proxy server, it is hiding our IP address so that it will not be revealed to the web server. So next, the proxy server then collects the response from the web server, okay, so and forwards the results to the client back, and the client can see the results in the web server. So from these 2 points you can differentiate between the post office functionality and the proxy server. Okay, so post office doesn't change the destination address, but it evaluates the address according to its own path or route which it has already. So here proxy server changes the IP address, so it will be hidden from the web server, and it waits for the response, and when web server response is back, then it is forwarded to the client, and client can see the result in its web browser in that case. Okay, so for one time request response activity, it will save the response into its cache. Okay, so this proxy server will save that request inside its cache. Next time if user makes another request from the same web server, it will look for the data inside its cache first. If it is found, then it is okay. If it is not found, then proxy server again follows the same procedure which we studied in this paragraph. Okay, so types of proxy servers are basically 4 types of proxy servers are there: anonymous, high anonymity, transparent and reverse. Anonymous proxy is the most familiar type of proxy servers, and it hides the original IP of the client and passes the anonymous IP address to the web server. So it doesn't pass the original IP address, it will pass some anonymous IP address to the web server. Okay, by doing this, there is no way that the end user receiving the request can find out the location from where the request was made. So the IP address of the source will be hidden from the web server. So that's why the most people use this kind of proxy server. This helps in preventing preventing identify thefts and keep your browsing habit private also. Okay, so anonymous proxy is the by default proxy. Second type of proxy is high anonymity proxy, and in this type the server changes the IP addresses periodically, and this makes it very difficult for the web servers to maintain a huge amount of IP addresses, and it is also difficult to detect which IP address belongs to whom or to which client. So TOR is a kind of onion router which maintains huge database for the users, which can access by the users to protect their network privacy, and they keep their online identity safe also. So this is the example of high anonymity proxy server. This server has an advantage over the anonymous user proxies in terms of the privacy and the security. Okay, so this maintains a huge database of the proxy wherein you can maintain all the IP addresses and you can detect which IP address belongs to which user. So third one is transparent proxy server. As its name implies, this proxy server will pass your IP address to the web server. This is not used for the same purpose as above two, rather it is used for the resource sharing, and they are mainly used in public library and schools for the content filtering. Okay, so examples of students, you can consider example of school where students are viewing the same article again and again via their school network. Then it would be more efficient from to take it from the cache and serve the next request from the cache only. So transparent proxy can do this for the organizations like schools and colleges, institutions. Reverse proxy says the goal of proxy server is not to protect you from accessing the web pages, but to stop the others on the internet from freely accessing your network through your IP address. So the most basic application of reverse proxy is that it protects the company resources and the data on the individual computers by stopping the third party access on these computers. So reverse proxy basically stops another user to see all the information related to your identity, related to client's identity. So reverse proxy protects the company resources used on the individual computers. Okay, and it stops the third party access. So advantages of proxy servers are the privacy, like speeding up the internet surfing, accessing to the blocked resources, and controlling of the internet usage of employees or the children's. So these are the advantages of proxy servers. Like speeding up says that proxy server, I want to serve www.xyz.org, then the request will go first to the cache of the proxy server. It has cached that website, and if it has cached, then it will give the feedback from the proxy server, which will be faster than directly accessing the website. If it is not residing inside the cache, then it will go to the server of the xyz.org. The advantages are very simple. It provides privacy, it can allow access to the blocked resources also. Several governments around the world, they restrict access to the citizens to many websites, and the proxy server provide access to the uncensored internet. Okay, you can consider the example of Chinese government. They has blocked many websites for their citizens, but a proxy server is used by the Chinese government. Risk of using proxy servers are, yes, there are some risk also. The most common risk is the spyware that gets downloaded as the free software, and this is where the quality of your proxy server becomes more important. What kind of proxy server you are using, that is very very important. So proxy providers should have advanced security protocols so that the spyware is left passive and can't do anything to harm your computer system. The proxy server which don't have such kind of security, they allow spyware to send your computer information and they get installed by default. So the proxy server which doesn't have such kind of security, they allow spyware to send your computer information and the other personal data, leaving the proxy servers useless. Proxy server has your IP address and the web request saved mostly unencrypted form. So you must know that if they save and log your data, so you must know what are the policies that they follow, and it is possible that they might sell your data on to the vendors also. risk of getting out of control, as the hackers can take control of your proxy server, and they can monitor and change the data that comes over your proxy servers. So these are the risks associated with using the proxy servers. Okay, so we have seen the definitions of proxy server, its types, its advantages, disadvantages, and its architecture also, because this video may get too long when we will be proceeding to the virtual LAN. So we will see virtual LANs in the next video, and in this video we have completed the network operating systems and the proxy servers and their different types. Take care. Thank you.